Hi, I'm creating a video here just to share a treatment that I've come up with over the last few years as an EMDR therapist and a play therapist for DPDR, which is Derealization Depersonalization Disorder. So, just to kind of go in a little bit about what DPDR is, so it can be a combination or more one side to the other of derealization, which essentially is y'all aren't real, and depersonalization, which is I'm not real. So, a few different reasons why this happens, and I saw this peak during COVID, especially with a lot of shutdown, a lot of kids being home from school, because I work a lot with children and adolescents, especially male children and adolescents. Um, and the idea is that you're getting this really numb experience where it's like the derealization can come and be like what they refer to as the matrix effect. So the world's not real, so my actions don't matter, which can be really dangerous. And the depersonalization is so extreme in some cases where I had one client where he expressed that it felt like he had rubber gloves covering his entire body. So a couple things here. The cause of this, it can happen from, well, generally a lot of mental health issues are caused by poor sleep and isolation are a couple things that really cause a lot of mental health things, but also things that lead to DPDR include um, really being chronically depressed can lead to it. Sometimes having a really traumatic experience. So basically, there's this theory with dissociation, and DPDR is a dissociative disorder, where one of the reasons why dissociation occurs is to estrange from self in the face of death. In other words, what we're talking about here is your body thinks you're dying, and so what happens is it disconnects from you in order to protect yourself. Now, one of the good things, and maybe not so good things about modern life is, actually this is a good thing, pretty straight up, is that a lot of times we survive our traumas. So a really common cause of this, and I see this a lot, is it's typically a teenage boy, but they either consume an edible with THC in it that's much higher than they thought was in it, or they green out from smoking too much weed. And what happens is they go into some kind of panic symptoms. Sometimes they're throwing up. Sometimes there's minimal, not a ton of hallucinogenic type symptoms, but like the walls are moving kind of experience. But they basically feel really bad and they express it being really high. But it's not them being high necessarily, it's that estrangement from self in the face of death. And what happens is this derealization, depersonalization comes over them. And they go to bed, they try to sleep off the high, and they wake up the next day and they still feel it. And then the DPDR persists. And so I have treated over 30 people using this method that I'm going to show you here. It's inspired by EMDR. It's also just a lot of this you can use even if you're not EMDR trained. But here's what I have them do. So what you need for this is, first of all, these are spiky fidget rings that can be purchased on Amazon. I get no money from them, so this is not a marketing thing. And if you're EMDR trained and you have buzzies, I use those too. So here are my buzzies. I have the TheraTappers. I like them because these little pieces on the end come off. So if you got a little kid using the buzzies and they bend the cords and break them, you don't have to pay like 120 bucks to get new ones. You just get a new cable. So what I'll do is I'll turn these on, typically a pretty high intensity, and then as slow as it goes. And I'll have them place them under their legs, right? And so they're getting the buzzy there. Sometimes when it's helpful, I will turn on music too, and what I use on here are these little bass pedal speakers. Also, I don't get money from these, but I get them on Amazon, and we get bilateral audio going. Usually what I use on there, also do some brain spotting sometimes. I'll use on Spotify and Google Music and all that, there's David Grand, PhD, and I'll have the bilateral audio going. And here's what we do with the spiky fidget ring. I have them focus on the pressure on their finger, then we roll it down your finger. We can go really slow, just noticing that pressure. Think of this activity as extreme grounding. Then we do the next finger, just noticing this, not with the music and the buzzies. And I'll do it with them. I'll sit across from them. I don't have the buzzies because they will, but I'll do this with a spiky fidget ring. And I'll go through all 10 of their fingers. And sometimes this goes quickly in like 5 minutes. If I've got a little kid who's like this, it can take like 5 minutes. And plus, these are more of like, if a little kid's experiencing this, they're more of that hypo-aroused, sitting on the couch or in the corner kind of kid, so it's not that hard to get them to do this. You don't really need to do this with a hyperactive kid because they don't experience DPDR typically. But sometimes with adults, it'll take like 20 minutes to get through this whole procedure. And then I'll do other kinds of therapy during the session. So that's really what there is to it. Now, it's not a quick fix. Oftentimes, I'll see people for 2 or 3 months doing this each session for about 20 minutes. I'll often give them the spiky fidget ring to keep as long as they don't self-harm, because these make really gnarly self-harm objects. So I wouldn't give it to them if they often self-harm. But yeah, like it's 3 months of this over and over. But if you think about it, compared to a lot of diagnoses, being in therapy for 2 or 3 months is pretty good. So from the EMDR kind of model, I do this more as like a phase 2 intervention, and I'll go back and do standard protocol on the past events, like first, worst, most recent. I'll target present triggers and then future template. So a very standard protocol once we do this part, but I use this intervention as a phase 2. But yeah, I made this video because this was a very hard thing to write down, but now it's going to be a video and it's going to be on my website, so any of you can view it or share it or whatever you want to do with this.